Welcome to the Personal Finance Professional Podcast. I'm Tim Hurst, Social Media and Production Manager for the Personal Finance Society. In this episode, I'll be talking to Chris Shadforth. In this episode of the podcast, we're discussing the CII's member designations. I'm joined by Chris Shadforth, Communications Director for the Chartered Insurance Institute. Here is my conversation with Chris. Hi, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
That's great to be here, Tim. It's nice to be on the other side of the microphone rather than the one asking the questions.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I normally sit behind the curtain recording these, so it's quite a new experience for me.
Superb. Well, let's see how we go.
Yeah. So first of all, just to sort of clarify, when we say member designations, what do we actually mean?
Well, lots of people use post-nominal letters, and these are letters that go after people's names, and they can often refer to things like civil honours or military honours. They can be appointments like members of parliament. They put MP after their name. We also see QC after some solicitors' names. But quite often they refer to professional body designations. And in our particular case, they refer to the letters that we allow our members to use. So these letters are examples such as CERT, CII, or DIP, PFS, ACII, or FPFS. And we have a number of these designatory letters that are available for use, and we encourage the use of them in the right ways.
Okay. And, you know, you're saying about this sort of CERT, CII, and the DIP, PFS. Aren't these the same as the qualifications that members or people studying with us obtain?
And this is the real difference. And we understand there could be some cause for confusion. And we'll talk probably a little bit about some data that we've gathered over recent weeks in relation to this. But we do understand that in some contexts in life, some post-nominals do refer to qualifications. With respect to the Chartered Insurance Institute and the Personal Finance Society, that's not the case. Our member designations are precisely that. They are for members of our organisations, our membership bodies. They refer to two things. First of all, that individual is a qualified member of our organisation. And secondly, that they have a particular level of qualification, or they have been assessed to a particular standard that allows them to use that membership designation. Now, it just so happens that for two of our levels of our membership designations, the letters are very similar to the qualification cert. So, for example, with CERT CII, you have to be a member, but you also have to have completed a certificate level qualification. And similarly for DIP CII or DIP PFS, you have to be a member, but have completed a diploma level qualification. But then we move into ACII and APFS and FCII and FPFS, so our associate members and fellowship members. And in those cases, we're talking about having completed an advanced diploma in insurance or financial planning, but then also having completed a degree level qualification standard as well. So it doesn't carry through that the levels of the certificates or the diplomas translate into those letters. And, we understand that can be a source of confusion. It's something that we're working hard to raise awareness of and explain, because we want our members to use these designatory letters, and we want them to use them in the right way. And equally, we want to encourage people who have our qualifications or have other qualifications and they want to join the CII and PFS to be able to do that, and really to be able to use our designatory letters in the correct way.
Okay, that's really, really good. And I'll just sort of following on from what you were just saying there, Chris, I mean, is there a different expectation for members who are holding these designations than there are for, say, non-members who have completed the qualifications?
Well, this is the crucial point, isn't it, Tim? So we've all completed qualifications over our lifetimes, and they should all be celebrated. The distinguishing factor with a membership designation is that you've completed an assessment of some sort, some assessment of your skills, but then you are continuing to accumulate knowledge, skills, and demonstrate behaviours that are consistent with being a member of the CIA or PFS in our particular case. So for us, that translates into also having a continuing professional development program in place. So you're continuing to top up your training so that you are a practitioner of the moment rather than a practitioner of a point in time, and also that you're adhering to the highest ethical standards as well. So it's the three aspects, those three elements that go together to reflect the fact that you can use our membership designation. And it's really, really important because we want our members to stand out from the crowd. This has been the thrust of the communications campaign that we've been running over recent weeks. We know that there are a lot of highly skilled individuals out there. We know there are a lot of individuals out there who have taken CII qualifications in the past, which is absolutely wonderful. But what we really need the public to understand when they're seeking out an insurance advisor or a financial planning advisor is that that individual, when they use a membership designation from the CII or from the PFS, is also continuing to embark on that professional development program and adhering to the highest ethical standards as well. And that's what the membership designation does for those individuals and why it's so important for us as an organisation that they're used in the correct way.
Yeah, that's really, really useful to hear, Chris. And just sort of, again, following through on that, the idea of we want only members to use the designations is because of that adherence to those code of ethics, the ongoing continual professional development and things like that. Would you say that's sort of accurate? It's nothing against people who have completed the qualifications. It's great that they want to show off that they've completed qualifications, but the idea of having the member designations is for someone to show not only have they completed a certain level of qualification, but actually they're adhering to a certain standard set out by a professional body.
That's absolutely right. I mean, that's the thrust of the difference here, Tim. I mean, you and I have been to university. We've got our bachelor's degrees. We can present those post-nominals after our names. They have that meaning. That is what the information in those letters conveys to people. What our membership designations convey is something beyond that. It's those three elements. It's having achieved a certain level of assessment, but also then that continued investment in their own education through continuing professional development and the adherence to high ethical standards as well. And all of that information is contained within our membership designations. And it's wonderful that so many people have completed CII qualifications over their lifetime. And if they choose to move out of that sector, that's what they choose to do. But at those points in time, they must also stop using our member designations because they are no longer a member of our organisation, of either of our professional membership bodies.
Yeah, that's really good. And you mentioned earlier about the sort of communications campaign that the CII and PFS have been running about member designations. Could you tell us a bit more about that and why did we sort of run these campaigns?
Well, we're very aware of the importance of these designations to our members. That's not something that's changed, but what we were aware of is that some individuals have misunderstood their meaning and have been using them erroneously. So we decided earlier this year to embark on an education campaign in the first instance to try and make the usage of these membership designations more transparent for members and for non-members. So in the first instance, we wanted to understand the potential level of misunderstanding of usage out there. And we ran a baseline awareness survey back in March, and we got a fantastic response to it. It's one of the most swiftly completed surveys that we've conducted in recent times. And we got something like 2,200 member responses in a little over 72 hours. But what those data show to us was that while a lot of our members understood the way in which these membership designations should be used. A significant proportion also gave some incorrect answers in the way in which they could be used as well. For example, 10% of our respondents incorrectly said that an individual who gained a certificate in insurance from the CII could immediately use the designation Cert CI without being a member of the CII, which is wrong because, of course, if they're not a member, they shouldn't be using a membership designation. Now, in that particular circumstance, if somebody gains a certificate of insurance from us, we would be delighted for them to update their LinkedIn profile and say, I've gained a certificate of insurance from the CII. That's terrific. It's exactly what we want people to be able to do. But if they then want to go on and demonstrate that certification alongside using our membership designation, well, that requires being a member. So having conducted the baseline survey, we embarked on a social media campaign over around about 8 weeks. And through that campaign, we were providing information about the meaning of the letters. And we were hoping that those that saw the campaign would be less likely to give incorrect answers over a number of different scenarios with which they were presented. And we were delighted to see that actually transpire in a second survey that we conducted just a few weeks ago. So if I look at those data, I see that the number of incorrect answers given by those who saw the campaign fell. Now, we're not talking about massive effects, but we're definitely seeing a benefit to raising awareness and understanding of the usage of these designations. And that's what our members want us to do. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast are saying, well, I'm really glad that you're doing this because it's really important to me that I am held in the regard for what I do, which is, having been assessed, I've now maintain my professional development and I'm adhering to these high ethical standards. And that sets me apart from somebody else who has gained a qualification and done incredibly well in that respect, but has chosen not to pursue membership of the organisation. So there are two different groups here, those who are continuing to be members and those who are choosing not to be. Now, we would love as many people who take our qualifications to become members as possible, but we understand that people choose their career paths in different ways. But what we must do is to make sure that they understand the usage of our designations and that the public and customers of our members understand the usage of our designations, because that's how we're going to build trust and confidence most effectively. And of course, Tim, that's our mission here at the CIO and the Personal Finance Society.
Oh, that's wonderful, Chris. And sort of just thinking on what you're saying, and I know the designation campaign hasn't focused on this as much because it's almost a separate area, but see, the same is relevant for the chartered status and making sure that it's not just about, like you say, achieving qualifications and so on. It's about actually having that experience as well. And I know this campaign, like I say, has focused more on some of the sort of post-nominals and less on chartered. But do you feel that there is a bit of an overlap there as well in terms of that understanding of who can call themselves chartered and who can't?
I think you're right, Tim. I mean, there's a definite continuum here in the levels of understanding, and charter status is available to the members who've reached the highest levels of academic attainment and professional achievement. That's the pinnacle, and absolutely they're within our designations as well. On the insurance side, we've got chartered insurance practitioners, brokers, risk managers, and underwriting agents, and we've got chartered financial planners as well. And those designations and titles sit alongside one another. So we haven't focused on the chartered titles as part of this campaign. We very much wanted to bite off what we thought we could chew in this first instance. So we've been looking at those Cert CII, PFS, DIP CII, DIP PFS, ACI, APFS, FCI, and FPFS designations. And I'm sure it's something that we'll come back to in the future.
Thanks. You mentioned about the impact the campaigns had in terms of the survey results. Do you feel that the communications campaign has had an impact in other ways?
Well, I hope it's had an impact in other ways. I mean, we certainly know that we were trying to drive traffic to our join us pages and also to the explanations of how the usage of our membership designations should be conducted. We did see an uptick in the number of people who are visiting our join us pages, which is great. And hopefully those translated through. We didn't actively monitor that as part of this campaign. But if we're seeing an uptick, that shows that there is a benefit in doing this sort of campaign. Now, we're going to be moving on with the campaign over the next few weeks and months to start contacting individuals who've previously gained a CII qualification and asking them the question, is this something that you would now like to translate into membership of the CII or PFS? Because it's an option open to you. And as part of this exercise, we know that we didn't get a lot of responses from non-members. That's understandable. I mean, typically for our social media channels, you'll know as well as I do, Tim, because you look at them every hour of every day for us. They are viewed predominantly by members. So we know that a lot of non-members out there might not have seen the campaign. So what we're going to be doing is looking at those who've taken our qualifications in the past. We'll be contacting them and asking them the question, would you like to join the CII and PFS? And a benefit of that is that you'll be able to use these membership designations. Now, there may well be individuals out there at the moment, and actually we know this as well, don't we, Tim, who are using our designations and they're not members. And so we'll also be writing to those individuals that we have identified and asking them to either choose to be a member of our professional membership bodies or to desist using them. And that's incredibly important as well. Members should have the confidence that it is only members using these designations, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
But it's not just about the members having that confidence either, is it, Chris? It's about the general public, because obviously as a chartered body, we've got to cater for the public more than our members, so to speak. And so we have to make sure that by ensuring that it is only our members that we hold to set standards are displaying these member designations so that the public can trust it.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, securing and justifying the confidence of the public is key to our Royal Charter. So, yes, you're right. I mean, for any stakeholder of the CII and PFS, there's a confidence element to this, isn't it? That when you're speaking to somebody who displays one of our membership designations after their name, they are somebody who you can respect as having all of those attributes, the technical competence, the continuing professional development, and the highest ethical standards consistent with following our code of ethics.
Brilliant. And just sort of, you're talking about contacting those that are currently using the member designations but aren't members. I mean, could you talk about the sort of process of what happens when an individual is identified as sort of essentially misusing that designation?
Yeah, and before I do that, I think it's important to emphasise that we proactively look at these situations, and we've done that more over the last, since the start of this year, than perhaps we have done previously. And that's an acknowledgement that we were recognising the potential for greater misuse of these designations than in the past. And the reasons for that, we don't know. I mean, it could well be simply general levels of misunderstanding of what individuals are able to do. And, that's our starting point. So we want to educate in the first instance. We will be going out to these individuals. We'll be writing to them and setting out what we are observing at this point in time if somebody is using a designation where they're not a member. But predominantly, we're going out wanting people to be members of our organisations we see there being a great benefit in having more people within our professional membership bodies that are able to be drawn upon by the public and by others for the professionalism that they exhibit. We would much rather have somebody take our qualification and become a member and stay within our profession than take a qualification and then choose to go somewhere else. I mean, there's been a lot of emphasis over the last couple of years since the COVID pandemic on getting more talent into our professions, which is a phenomenal thing to do. And the CII and PFS do so much to drive those efforts to bring people and drive awareness and excitement about joining our professions. Once they're in, we want to keep them in. And the really important thing is emphasizing the benefit to them as an individual of being a member and to others of them seeing them as a member as well. So we'll write to them, we'll encourage them. We'll also set out the potential implications and consequences of continuing to use a member designation if they are indeed doing that without being a member of our organisation. And that can involve legal action. At the end of the day, these member designations are our trademarks. They are that. They are protected in law as intellectual property. And to misuse them is therefore to be breaking the law and infringing our intellectual property. So it's really vital that people understand the usage of these designations because it stops them from doing something that they might otherwise regret doing as well. But we're not going to come down, with a sledgehammer. That's not the way in which we approach these things. We want to educate in the first instance and encourage. And we will do the things that we think are appropriate in the moment for any individual at that point in time.
So is there anything else with the campaign? I know you've already mentioned about some of the next steps, but are there any other aspects of it that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Well, I think the really important thing from our position is that we are an international organisation. So yes, we do have a lot of members in the UK, but we also have members around the world. And so this campaign is applicable to people and our members and non-members in the Middle East and Hong Kong as it is to those that are here in the UK. So another aspect of this campaign, which I'm sure we will be coming back to over coming months and years, Tim, is that we'll also be adapting it for usage beyond UK. Now, we've already produced videos for use in Hong Kong, and we've been helping our colleagues in the Middle East to distribute materials outside of the campaign as well to encourage people to see the benefits of being a member and take up membership of the CII. We'll be doing more of that going forwards, and we're really looking forward to having the engagement from members and non-members in that respect.
That's great. Well, it's really exciting to hear how the campaign's sort of had an impact and what we're doing further. Obviously, like you say, I'm on the side of promoting these posts on social media, and we have seen really good engagement with it. From that side, and hopefully we'll see more engagement with it, and obviously encourage members to share that to help educate others into not just to encourage non-members to either stop using the designations or sign up to membership, but like we say, help educate the general public in what that membership and what those designations actually mean, and why it can be beneficial for them to work with someone who holds a CII member designation over someone who doesn't.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such an important thing that we're taking it seriously, and we're doing things that perhaps we should have done more of in the past. But the point is to recognise that more can be done and then to take out action. And that's exactly what we've been doing over these last few weeks and months. And there's more to come.
That's fantastic to hear. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us on the podcast today. It has been really insightful and interesting to hear about the work we're doing about member designations and how we're trying to protect them and sort of make sure that they're being used correctly. So, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks ever so much, Tim.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Personal Finance Professional podcast. For more podcasts and useful links, please visit pfp.thepfs.org/podcasts. Until next time, goodbye.